Example 1.7. Okay, the problem, how many $1 bills, I think it's $10 bill, it's not 10 or 1. We continue. How many $1 bills stacked one on top of the other would reach the moon? The distance to the moon is 400,000 kilometers. 10 stacked bills form a layer of 1 millimeter. Now it means
Okay.
that uh, the thickness, the thickness of one stack of bill, $1 bill or $1 note with 10 pieces there stack up is actually 1 millimeter. Okay, one stack of $10 note, sorry, one stack of 10 $1 note is
Okay.
1 millimeter. This is what they are trying to say. Let me draw here. 10 stacked bill form a layer of 1 millimeter. It means that 1 millimeter has 10 $1 note. Okay, very precise. So I want to find the thickness of $1 note, $1 note. Okay, so I use 1 millimeter divided by 10 because they are altogether 10 notes there.
Yep.
So 1 millimeter divided by 10 will give me the thickness of $1 note. Okay, right. Now again, this is given in kilometer. The distance to the moon is given in kilometer, and what I have here is millimeter. Now these two units, they are not consistent, so I have to change either the thickness of one node to kilometer, or I change the distance from the moon, from the earth to the moon in meter. So in this case I've chosen to change it to kilometer. Right?
Okay.
So if I use kilometer for the thickness of one node, here we call it node, they call it bills. Okay, now of one node and the distance divided by the thickness of one node, then I will know how many pieces of $1 note are there from the earth to the moon. Okay, so first I find the thickness of $1 note. So I use 1 millimeter divided by 10 pieces. Now 1 millimeter is 1 times 10 to the power of minus 3 meter. Okay, now not good enough because it's not consistent. So I have to change to kilometer. So I use
Okay.
the same number, 1 times 10 to the power of negative 3. I divide by 1000 to change
Okay.
to kilometer. 1000 is 10 to the power of 3. Okay. Then 10 to the power negative 3 minus 3. It becomes 10 to the power of 6,
Mm-hmm.
negative 6. Divide by 10 some more, you have to minus one more from the index. So it becomes negative 7. So altogether, actually, it is like that. Negative 3, right? When you divide by 10 to the power 3, you minus another 3 there. When you divide by 10, you have to minus another 1 there. So negative 3 minus 3 minus 1, that's how we get this negative 7 there. Now the unit is already in kilometer. So it is kilometer for one bill. So it's written there kilometer per bill. That means it's kilometer per the thickness of one node. One bill means one node lah. So the thickness of one node. Okay, so this is the thickness of one node, and the distance to the moon is 400,000 kilometers. So when I use this distance, divide by the thickness of one node, then it will give me the number of nodes, and they call it bill, we call it node here. So now I take the distance to the moon divided by the thickness of $1 note, and I will get the number of nodes. How many
Okay.
pieces are there? And before that, I checked that this is kilometer and this also in kilometer. So they are consistent. So the kilometer and kilometer will cancel off. So as a result, I will get uh, the number of bills, the number of notes. Okay, so 400,000 you can convert to 4 times 10 to the power of 5. Divide by 10 to the power of negative 7. It means the indices, they are 5. Divide means minus. Minus what number? Minus negative 7. So finally, the index is 10 to the power of 12. So the number of $1 note is 4 times 10 to the power of 12.
Okay.
4 times 10 to the power of 12 is actually 1 trillion. So 4 means 4 trillion. So, according to the book, they say this is roughly the debt of that country, uh, the debt of that country. Okay, any question?
No.
No. So what we learn from these two problems, they are number one, how to convert a number into scientific notation, and how to manipulate them, how to use division and multiplication of this scientific notation, number one. Now, the second thing we learn here is that the unit must be consistent. So if you use meter cube, then both of them, when you want to multiply or divide them, you have to make sure that both of them, they are in meter. In the second case, when you want to multiply or divide them, you have to make sure both of them, they are in kilometer. Of course, you can change to meter, it doesn't matter. If the thickness of node you change to meter, then the distance to the moon also you use meter. So make sure that they are consistent. So these are the
Okay.
two things that we learn. These are the two things that we learn.